One of the biggest mistakes I see when people have a pain or an ache or a niggle is that they focus all of their energy only where the pain is without identifying or working with the underlying cause of the problem. Because almost always where you feel the pain is not the cause of the problem. So in today's 5-minute metaphor, I'm sharing a metaphor that I share with clients to help understand the mechanics of why where you feel the pain is not where the problem is. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm a sport and remedial massage therapist and founder of Layton Sports Massage. In this channel, I share simple self-care tips and information about how your body works so that you can live and enjoy your favorite activities as pain-free as possible. So we've all had this situation where we have a knot between our shoulders or pain in the top of our neck or our poor hamstrings being stretched to high heaven because our hamstrings feel tight. These don't work because when you're focusing on where the pain is, you're not addressing the core of the problem. And this is one of the hardest things for me to get my clients' head around because they're like, but my hamstrings are tight, so I should stretch my hamstrings. And it's like, no, not if your hamstrings are tight because they're compensating for something else. And people who work ages on knots in between their shoulder blades, and they're like, but I massage them every day with a tennis ball and it never goes away. And it never goes away because you're never dealing with what's creating the knot in the first place, which is usually on the opposite side of the body. So I came up with an analogy that helps to explain why we feel a pain somewhere that is usually totally different to where the actual cause of the problem is. And it's called the anvil analogy. So I've got a picture here for you that I drew that is an anvil, and it's got a rope tied around it. And I want you to imagine that that rope is strung through a hook. Now, if that anvil is swinging around and really heavy and really straining the rope eventually is going to get frayed. It's going to get kind of start to come apart a little bit. It's going to start to become a little bit unstable. So this is kind of like where you're feeling the pain. If you have tension somewhere in the body, that tension is pulling on something else. So some of the most common examples are when your chest is really tight and your lats are really tight, it's pulling your shoulders forward and pushing your head forward, which means between your shoulder blades are working really hard and the top of your shoulders are working really hard to compensate against this pull in the front of the body. So they get fatigued and they get tight and they start to complain. And so you feel the pain between your shoulder blades and you're like, well, there's a knot there, so I have to release it. But you release it and it doesn't get better because releasing where you feel the pain is like putting some duct tape on that rope that's fraying over the hook. The anvil is still swinging around on it, it's still creating problem, and it might make it feel better temporarily, but it's only a matter of time before that duct tape starts to get worn out. And once again, you start to get that problem. Or it's the same thing with the hamstrings, like I explain in a little bit more detail in the hamstrings muscle of the month video. If your glutes aren't working properly, or if your piriformis is really tight, the hamstrings are having to pull against that, and they will get tired. So just like the anvil is moving around and moving around, we've got this fraying rope on the top, your hamstrings are getting tired, and stretching out your hamstrings or even strengthening your hamstrings is not getting rid of that anvil, that weight that is pulling on that rope. So that's why when people have a session with us, we almost always don't work on the site of the pain initially, because when we work on something else and it releases the problem, it makes the problem feel better. We know that that's the underlying cause. It's a really easy way to see. So as an example, when people come in and they've got back problems, we release their chest and see how much better their back feels. And a lot of the time their back feels amazing. And sometimes their back feels pain-free. And then we work on where the pain is, where they feel the pain, and the pain comes back because we've taken it out of balance again because the chest is still tighter than the back. So the next time that you have a pain somewhere and it's really agonizing and it's really bothering you, instead of going straight to stretch or release that, try and work on something else that could be related. Now, we have a ton of videos that talk about the different connections between things and what different things cause. Sometimes it's an activation issue, sometimes it's a tension issue, like how the chest can be tight and pull on the back, or how the glutes can be underworking and make the hamstrings overwork. So if you leave a comment and you tell me what your pain is, I can try and link it to one of the videos that might help you work out what's going on. But obviously, there's no substitution for seeing someone in person who can take your full case history and get a really full picture of what you're doing day to day, so they understand the mechanics and your movement patterns to then pinpoint what's going on, because that's really what the best thing to do is when you're having pain. But of course, you can always try the opposite principle, which I'll talk about in another video, or just think about having better posture when you're sitting, making sure that all your muscles are activating properly, just like making sure your whole body works, which is, I know, easier said than done. So the next time that you have pain somewhere, remember the anvil 5-minute metaphor, which is just because this is where you're feeling the fraying and the discomfort doesn't mean this is what the problem is. You probably have a metaphorical anvil somewhere pulling on this metaphorical muscle, this metaphorical rope that's fraying, which is your muscle. I would love to know if this makes sense for you. Does this help with any kind of recurring pains that you've been having and you're going, oh, actually, it makes sense why massaging this knot every day isn't getting it better, or sitting on a tennis ball for my piriformis, or foam rolling up and down on my IT band until I cry hasn't been working. And definitely let me know in the comments what your pain is, because if I have a video, I'll share it. And if I don't have a video, I can up that in my list of videos that I'm going to create for you. So thanks so much for watching. If you're not subscribed already, I would so appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit the notifications bell so that you get notified when we release new videos, and share with anybody who you think will find this helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.